When New York City woke up to the news that Zoran Mamdani had become its new mayor, social media exploded. But who exactly is Zoran Mamdani? And how did a young politician with roots far from Wall Street or traditional power circles manage to take the city's top seat? New York City has always been the stage for big personalities, from business moguls to political icons. But no one expected this name to rise so quickly. Zoran Mamdani, the son of immigrants, a Muslim, and now the most talked about man in American politics. Born in Kampala, Uganda, in 1991, Zoran's story begins far from the skyscrapers of Manhattan. His parents, both intellectual giants, shaped his worldview long before he entered politics. His father, Mahmoud Mamdani, is one of Africa's most respected scholars on colonialism and social justice. His mother? The legendary Marinaire, the Indian-American filmmaker behind Monsoon Wedding and Mississippi Masala. Yes, Zoran grew up surrounded by art, activism, and politics. When he was just 7, the family moved to New York City, settling in Queens, one of the most diverse places on earth. He grew up seeing immigrants hustling to survive, families fighting eviction, and the city's deep inequalities. Those early images never left him. Zoran studied at the Bronx High School of Science, one of NYC's top public schools, before heading to Bowdoin College in Maine. There, he majored in Africana Studies, exploring how race, power, and colonial history shaped the modern world. Even in college, he wasn't afraid to speak up. He organized campus protests, led student movements supporting Palestinian rights, and challenged university policies he saw as unfair. This was a young man who questioned everything, from global politics to everyday injustice. After graduating, Zoran returned to Queens and began working as a foreclosure prevention counselor, helping families on the verge of losing their homes. That job changed him. He saw firsthand how bureaucracy crushed working people and how little politicians actually cared. That's when the idea of running for office started to take root. Zoran is a proud Muslim and one of the few openly practicing Muslims to rise to power in New York politics. He's spoken openly about fasting during Ramadan while campaigning door-to-door in the summer heat. To him, faith isn't about separation, it's about service. It's about standing with the vulnerable and fighting injustice. His heritage is equally fascinating. Born in Uganda, of Indian descent, raised in America, his life is a blend of continents, cultures, and beliefs. His middle name, Kwame, was given in honor of Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first prime minister, a symbol of African independence. It's almost poetic, a man whose very name carries a legacy of freedom and resistance. In 2020, Mamdani shocked the political establishment. He ran for New York State Assembly, not as a typical Democrat, but as a democratic socialist. People laughed at first. He had no big donors, no political family connections. Just a small team, a powerful message, and relentless determination. And he won. Defeating a 4-term incumbent in Queens, one of the biggest political upsets of the year. Since then, Zoran has built a reputation as one of the boldest voices in American politics. He doesn't tiptoe around controversy. He talks about free public transportation, affordable housing, taxing billionaires, and even rethinking policing. To some, he's a hero. To others, a dangerous radical. When Mamdani announced his campaign for mayor of New York City, critics rolled their eyes. But within months, his rallies were packed, his social media exploded, and donations poured in, mostly from small, working-class donors. He promised a city for the many, not the millionaires. A city where housing is a right, not a privilege. A city that doesn't criminalize poverty. His opponents called him unrealistic. But the people, especially the young, called him inspiring. They saw in him what New York had lost, hope. Mamdani has never been afraid of controversy. He supports rent freezes, higher corporate taxes, and publicly owned housing projects. He also advocates for mental health first responders instead of sending police to every emergency. But it's his foreign policy comments that grabbed headlines. Mamdani refused to condemn activists using the slogan "Globalize the Intifada." He called it a call for justice, not violence. That stance earned him both fierce criticism and deep respect, depending on who you ask. His pro-Palestine views and Muslim identity made him a lightning rod in American politics, yet also a symbol of representation for communities long ignored. He's also a champion of LGBTQ+ rights, pushing for inclusive healthcare and safe spaces across the city. His politics are intersectional, rooted in the idea that no one is free until everyone is free. Away from cameras, Mamdani is known to be calm, thoughtful, even funny. He once joked about growing up selling CDs in Queens, saying, "If you can convince someone to buy a mixtape on the subway, you can convince them to vote." He's married to Ramaduwaji, an artist and animator, and often credits her with keeping him grounded. He still writes poetry, listens to hip-hop, and reads African literature late into the night. Despite his fame, he still lives modestly in Queens, the same neighborhood that raised him. Zoran Mamdani's rise is more than a political victory, it's a cultural moment. The first Muslim, South Asian American, and African-born mayor in New York's history. The youngest in over a century. His story is proof that the American dream isn't dead, it's just being rewritten. By immigrants. By the working class. By those who were never meant to have power, but took it anyway. Whether you love him or fear him, Zoran Mamdani has already changed the game. And New York City will never be the same again. Mamdani's formal political career began when he ran for the New York State Assembly in 2020 for the 36th District in Queens, Astoria, Long Island City. He defeated a four-term incumbent in the Democratic primary and subsequently won the general election. In 2024 to 2025, he launched a major mayoral campaign for New York City. His bid made national headlines because of his youth, progressive platform, and grassroots organizing base. Mamdani identifies as a democratic socialist, and his policy agenda reflects that orientation. Housing and affordability, he proposes a rent freeze for rent-stabilized apartments, creation of a publicly owned social housing development agency with a target of 200,000 affordable units, and deeper tenant protections. Public transit and cost of living, he supports fare-free buses, increased public transit investment, and city-owned grocery stores to reduce food costs in underserved neighborhoods. Economic policy, he calls for raising the minimum wage towards $30 by 2030, increasing taxes on million-dollar earners and corporations, and redirecting resources from wealthy, whiter neighborhoods to working-class areas. Public safety, initially associated with defund the police rhetoric, he later refined his position, emphasizing the need for crisis responders, mental health professionals, and community-based safety models while acknowledging the role of the police in violent crime. Mamdani has been outspoken on Israel-Palestine, stating that Israel has a right to exist but declining to condemn the slogan "Globalize the Intifada," which drew criticism and concern from Jewish communities. He has supported strong protections for LGBTQ+ New Yorkers, including funding for gender-affirming care and making NYC a sanctuary city for LGBTQ+ communities.